Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're gonna do a guide on Berserk Barbarian, which is the character that I've started my GSF with and aimed for tier 2 bossing with. This is one of the more popular builds for Barbarian to boss with, and I think it's very strong, very simple to build, and also very intuitive to play. So if you're new into bossing and you like playing Barbarian, I think this is definitely the build for you. Other Barbarian bossers like Fro, or maybe using Whirlwind or Wolf Barb, are also very strong. I don't think they're stronger or weaker. I think all the Barb builds are very strong and capable. But I think this one is the most easy to play. So I'm just gonna go with this one as my main recommendation. I also chose this build because it's simple to piece out in terms of gear. Even though the weapons can be a little bit expensive sometimes, you don't need to have the most high-end weapons to reach good results, which is kind of what I proved in this GSF, and other people proved it before me. I'm sure there's plenty of other barbs who've done it with way worse gear than mine. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about the Berserk Barbarian. How do you level it? How do you skill it? And then we'll do examples of all the different contents in the game. We'll do a map, we'll do Uber Ancients, Ubers. It basically can do everything, and with pretty similar gear at the end of the day. So let's get to it. Berserk is a skill in the combat skills for Barbarian, and it's over here. It has two prerequisites, double swing and concentrate, and it requires you to use two weapons. You have to have two weapons in order to use it. You cannot use it with one weapon. It has two synergies, taunt and combat reflexes, one in each skill tree. And it deals a lot of damage, and the main thing you should remember about it is that it reduces your physical damage reduction by 10% when you use it. I think in the beginning, the first few levels it's less, but after you put a few points into it, it gets to minus 10%. That's very, very important, because that means that at all times you want to have at least some damage reduction. It means that amp can be very scary to you, and you can be, shot for a lot of damage. So if you are playing hardcore, if you just want to stay safe, make sure to have some PDR on your gear, even if you're not bossing. So this is the Berserk skill. These are the two prerequisites. Since you are using two weapons, normally you'd have some points in Frenzy, and that's normally the skill that you'll be dumping the rest of your skill points into after you finish maximizing what you need. Now let's go to combat masteries. Over here, you'll be using general mastery, since you'll be using axes, swords, and maces normally. So you'll max general mastery to get that attack rating, the damage, the crit strike, and all the good stuff that general mastery gives you. Combat reflexes, this is a synergy to taunt, and gives you increased hit recovery, life, and stamina. The stamina doesn't matter too much, but it does give you a lot of FHR. It makes it so it's very easy to hit 48 FHR. It's almost like a given that you hit this breakpoint, and hitting 86 is also not too hard with a little bit of gear. So really, really nice overall. Combat reflexes. Normally you'll put a point into increased speed and natural resistances. There's no reason not to put a point into them. They're so valuable with just 1 point. And generally speaking, I like putting 2 points into Iron Skin. You can see that every 2 points gives you 1 physical damage reduction. The rest just gives you defense, so at least 1 point for sure to get that natural resistance. But I like having 2 points because, as we said, we love having physical damage reduction. That's the Masteries page. And the Warcries page, I always like having at least 1 point in Battle Command. Such a great skill, shame to miss it. And 1 point in Grimward is for people who want to boss. This is super useful. Grimward is basically an insane value point. Taunt is a synergy for Berserk, so you also max Taunt to get your damage. And Taunt is a great skill. It reduces the target damage and attack, and again will be used in Dclone, especially in the bossing scenario. So very, very good skill. Make sure to use it, don't forget about it. So these are the general skills that you'll be using. If you don't have a Grandfather's as part of your weapons, Grandfather's gives you not Grandfather, sorry. If you don't have a skill into Battle Cry from any of your items, I'm getting it from I think my halberds, right? Yeah. So if you don't have any skill points into halberds, into battlecry, and you're not using halberds, for example, point into battlecry can be very good. It's very useful, especially when mapping. So 1 point here is also a solid investment. That's kind of like the rundown on your skills. You max out your Berserk, you max out your synergies. If you're leveling as Berserk, then you'll max out probably combat reflexes pretty early, because you want to have the extra life early on. Like, the life really helps. Just getting more flat life. Maxing taunt can be helpful when you're mapping. So like by the time you're mapping, you want to have taunt maxed. Having a point, of course, and having like max general mastery will help you get through the campaign. So these are the general things that you'll kind of be leveling up as you're going. In terms of attributes, normally you'll need some strength and dexterity, because in most cases you're going to be using swords that do require a lot of dexterity. Around the 100 to 110 is normally where you want to be. See, I'm at 103. That's kind of what I need for my gear. And like strength, somewhere between usually 150 to like 190, depending on what weapons you use, is like the areas of strength that you'll need. You can have more for damage, but generally having more vitality, especially if you're going to be bossing, is the recommendation. So that's kind of like my setup. That's what I ended up doing. I get a lot of bonus because I'm using a grandfather's, which just gives you a ton of stats. Now let's talk a little bit about gear. And I'm gonna talk both about like budget gear and like what I started with, and about like the more advanced gear and what you want to be going for later. And then in the bossing section for each boss, I'm going to talk about the gear that you want to be using for the bosses. So we're going to be separating them. Right now I'm talking about general gear if you're mapping, if you're doing Uber Ancients, Ubers, things like that. And then later we'll talk about like more boss specific gear and things that you want to be changing. But generally speaking, the weapons can be used in all scenarios. So in terms of gear, generally speaking, you want to be using 2 weapons, and the weapons that I've seen are the most popular ones are like Doombringer and Grandfathers. And just to clarify, you do need attack speed for this build, but you only need it on 1 weapon, and some bases are faster than others. So without like getting too much into the weeds of it, if you are using a setup like Doombringer and Grandfathers, you'll have your attack speed on the Doombringer because it's a faster base, and you can check it through like an IS calculator, but it's a little bit confusing. So generally speaking, just stick to having like IS on 1 weapon. For example, if you're running the BK set, like some weapons naturally have IAS, so you can already go with them. Or if you're running like a weapon like Lyric Mithril Bane, you can run the IS on it. If you're running crafted weapons, then you'll just figure out which one is better. You can kind of test it by like if you have sockets in both weapons that are free. I don't have that right now, but if you do have it, you can check like the breakpoints just by like placing the weapons like this and seeing like which ones get which breakpoints. You'll see that they have different ones. So that's something you can do. You can look into it, but generally speaking, if you're doing Doombringer and Grandfathers, which is the most common combination, then you'll have your IS on the Doombringer. Now, as you can see, I have 60 IS on this. You don't necessarily need it because you will be using Frenzy while playing. So as you can see, I don't have my last breakpoint, of course, but as I'm charging my Frenzy, right, using the Frenzy skill that we talked about, right, you'll see that the breakpoints become easier to kind of use or to reach. So right now I have 82 IAS, 60 on my weapon, and a little bit on something else. And as you can see, 9 FPA is the highest breakpoint for Berserk. I'm now finally maximum charged, and that's how you check that you reach the final breakpoint. And this is of course already the Berserk skill. So I know it's a little confusing. I know it's a little bit, you know, a lot of like numbers and things that kind of, you know, jumble together. Generally speaking, these are things you can always like experiment with using shales. If you're like unsure, just put up a couple of shales in like a weapon if you have sockets, and see which breakpoints you're getting. What does it look like after you're charging your Frenzy? And that's basically like the best way to confirm stuff, is to check them on the spot. Don't like count that it's working because you saw it in the video or something. It's always better to check for yourself. That's what I ended up doing, because I've seen some contradicting information in different like places. So anyway, let's get back to the gear. Once you figure out your weapons, you can add up all of the rest of the gear. And generally speaking, the helm to go for this build is Halberd's Reign, because it gives you that 15% PDR or up to 15% PDR, gives you barbarian skills, gives you masteries, gives you FHR, so much good stuff, gives you flat attack rating, which is great. I have like all sorts of things socketed into it because I was bossing with it, but generally speaking, you'll socket it with either enhanced damage, min-max, resistances if you need them, or any other defensive stuff if you're missing them. So that's for the helmet. If you want to have other helmets, I start with a Crown of Ages. That helps you sort out your resistances early on, gives you physical damage reduction. It's great. We have Vampire Gaze. It gives you Dual Leech, gives you a lot of physical damage reduction. Again, the physical damage reduction point is super important, and these are the general helms that you'll be using. If you find an area early, that's also okay. It gives you resistances and skills, so another solid helmet that you can use. Other than that, if you're just leveling with this build and you're reaching hell and it's getting more difficult, you need like a helmet, you don't have any of those yet, you can always craft a safety helmet. So safety helmet will give you, I can do that like right now maybe if he sells me a helmet. Yeah, sure. Normally you'll craft with like barbarian bases, it's better because you can get extra skills on them. But as you can see, if you craft with safety helmets, it'll give you like some PDR. And you can roll all res or like some specific resistances on it, and that's like something you can do in order to get some PDR early on. So if you're just leveling with this build, that's like something I recommend doing. You can craft a safety armor, safety helmet, get some PDR, and that way you're not going to just get you know, slapped around during your campaign run through. So that's a general tip that you can do. For the armor, like the thing that I like doing is Fortitude. Fortitude gives you a lot of damage, gives you res, and you know, gives you like other things like life. So generally very good armor, very recommended. If you don't have a low rune yet, maybe you're just starting, using a rare armor. This is what I used early on, just a rare armor, some res on it, maybe some damage, PDR. That's very, very good. You can craft your armors as well. That's also a solid option. Or use things like a rattle cage is okay. Use like a Lionheart rune ward that also gives you resistances and damage. So these are all sorts of options that you could be utilizing as you're going through the campaign, depending on what you find, of course. It's always like whatever you find is what you go with. So these are all sorts of options that you can utilize early on for the armor. But generally speaking, at the end game, you'll use like a Fortitude, Ethereals if you can, like if you find a really good one, that's an option, or a very good crafted armor that has a lot of PDR, but also has resistances and damage. These are like the three options generally people would go for. For the belt, I generally recommend String of Ears. String of Ears gives you life leech, gives you PDR. There's not a lot of you know, smart stuff about it. If you don't have strings, you can use like dungos. That's also perfectly fine. And if you need anything else like life leech or attack speed, you can use a Noz Coil. In theory, like there's nothing wrong with using Noz Coil, but the PDR on the belt is really worth it, and I recommend it. You don't have one yet, you can use a rare PDR belt till you find one of those, but finding String of Ears is relatively easy since they can drop so early in the campaign. For the gloves, I use Soul Drainers. Now, I know a lot of people like using other gloves, but if you can reach your maximum breakpoint without IS on gloves, then Soul Drainers, of course, great for physical builds. The minus physical resistance is just awesome. It's really, really strong, and the Dual Leech really solves you the problem of getting leech on anything else. These ones are slammed with all res, so it's been really nice in the GSF. For an amulet, generally the go-to amulet for you is High Lords. High Lords and Atmas are like the ones that I kind of think are the leading ones. Atmas for amp, High Lords for the deadly strike and the damage. You have other sources of damage, of course, of critical strike because you have general mastery. But it's good to have that deadly strike. It helps you deal a lot of damage, and specifically I need the IAS from it to reach my final breakpoint. So let me try and demonstrate it, maybe. So I'll charge again using my frenzy. And that's how I kind of played around with my IS till I found out how much IS I need. So you'll see it says I'm at 9 FPA. If I take it off, I'm at 10 FPA. So I just played around with all sorts of IS items to see what I need on which sword. Just like as a tip, like how to kind of like find out what do you need. You can have just like the items on you, remove them, put them back on, see how they affect your breakpoints if you need them, or if they're just there and you don't actually need them. So that's like a way to kind of find out all these things. But yeah, I've been using High Lords. I've been loving it. This one is slammed with CBF as well, so it gives me my CBF. And Amulet is a good place to get your CBF from. If you don't get it from the Amulet, you can always use a Ravenfrost. That's fine because you need a lot of attack rating on this build, but I already got my attack rating elsewhere. For the rings, generally speaking, having a Wisp is great, and I haven't slammed this one yet because it's a GSF, and I've been using it for Lucion. But I'll promise I'll do it right now actually for the video, so you guys can see me break a Wisp. Okay, it survived. Hooray. Wow, I'm really happy it survived. Sorry, random bit for the video. So using a Wisp for this little spirit, the Spirit of Wolverine, I'll give you more damage, gives you more AR. You'll see that I'm like at 1300 for the attack rating. For example, if I go out, you get like a little boost there of like 500, 600 AR. So really nice stuff. It's very useful, of course, gives you plus skills, so added for like your natural resistances, your AR and damage, your combat reflexes, so everything kind of gets upgraded, so that's great. The other ring I'm using is like a res ring with dual leech and max damage attack rating, so a very nice rare ring. Other things you can use are just like, you know, normal damage rings, maybe not as strong, or using a BK set. That's what I used early on. I don't know where I put them, but here I think. Yeah, so using something like a BK set will give you PDR, attack rating, damage, things you like, lightning resistance. So all that is very nice. For the boots, currently I'm using water walks, but only because I've been bossing. I think the boots that you want to go for are things like Gore Riders, Gore Riders, War Travelers. I think these are like the classic ones. You can go for Mermans if you want to have more movement speed, if you're missing movement speed. So all these are great. And if you don't have any of those, you can use, of course, rare boots with a lot of resistances. And that's kind of like the summation of the gear. On the swap, you don't need a CTA, of course. Like, that's not something that you need to use. So the options are to have a Demon Limb for Fire Enchant and a Venom. This is used for bossing. It lets you cast Desecrate in places where you otherwise have no access to corpses. So you can use your Grimward, which is an insane buff. It's really strong. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, you can have a teleport stick like a Knives. Or a Spell Steal. That's what I used early on, and it gives you like the extra mobility, so you can farm around, you can teleport, and once you're still weak before you can do maps, this really helps you farm things like keys and materials, so you can be self-sufficient and find the things that you need. That's what I did on day one to get my first torch. So that's an example of like the gear, what you have on your swap, what you have on yourself. Before I go to the charms, I'll of course show like the other weapons that I wanted to kind of show that I've been using. So BK set, Tribal Guardian, and Sacred Charge. A great combination, lets you boss early, it's very good for Ubers, gives you a lot of resistances. So doing like early content is very easy with them. I've mapped with these, I've done the Dclone Rathma. So they're capable of doing Lucion even. I'm sure that with good enough like setup, they can even do higher tiers of the bossing. But I just haven't got to do it with them. But I think they could do it probably. So again, very strong set, very underrated. Only takes free item slots. Uses a BK ring, which you like having anyway. Gives you cannot be frozen. Gives you a ton of res. So very strong set. I really recommend it if you're a Barb to try it. Even if you're not using Berserk, it can be used for spin, it can be used for other stuff as well. So very strong set. Other weapons that you could look into are like Cleoric's Mithril Bane. This one is pretty cheap, people don't really use it. Normally it's a Paladin sword, technically, I know. But it has life leech, it has good damage, and you can use it pretty easily, and it's really not that bad. The crushing blow is great, the damage is solid, and the reanimate is undead, like the defiled warriors. You know, it puts a few bodies on the board, so that's not bad. You can use some rare and crafted weapons. You can see this is just like a high ED weapon. If you find something like this, definitely you can definitely make use of it. You'll see that if I upgrade this, then I'll be pretty high. Wait, what is this? Foul and a sapphire. Ooh, good that I have one. So you'll see this one is pretty strong. Deals 96 to 475 damage. If we compare this to like my weapons that are already like jeweled, it doesn't really fall from them that much, and this still has 3 more sockets. So really nice. Rare weapons can definitely be found. Has dual leech even, which is pretty cool. So yeah, you can find really strong stuff if you do look for it, and I recommend you pick up rare weapons, pick up ethereal rare weapons especially, and kind of experiment with them. There are other weapons like Sword Guard that you can use. Sword Guard gives you a lot of resistances. You can find it pretty early in the game already in Nightmare pretty easily, and deals solid damage. If I upgrade this, of course, it will be pretty solid. So you can definitely make some nice stuff with low-end gear and get yourself, to higher levels. Other weapons that I don't have here are things like Vile Husk, which will give you amp. You have Chafers and Stone Crusher that can be useful for either the static or the physical pierce. So a lot of good options, a lot of things that you can utilize, and you'll have to kind of look through the things you find in your playthrough and the things that you find on the market if you are playing on trade. So these are all sorts of options that you can definitely use in order to start getting yourself going with the Berserk build. So that's it for gear. Let's talk a little bit about charms. For charms, you have like 3 options basically. You can either use max damage lifers, as you can see here. You can use combat skillers, and combat skillers basically they will give you extra points for your frenzy, which means longer frenzy duration. You generally want to have your frenzy at level 26, so have that like in mind at level 26 at least. And so it will give you points here. It'll give you points in Berserk, which is nice. But otherwise, it's mostly like I can take one off, and you can see like the damage, right? Oops, sorry. So over here we get like 40 points of damage in the minimum, and we get like a lot more in the maximum. And compared to that, if we look at the min max charms, at the only max charms, right, the minimum doesn't really get changed. If you like your minimum to be higher, you'll be using more combat skillers. If you like your maximum sheet damage going higher, then you use max damage lifers. All this means is that this build is very versatile with the charms that it can use. You can also use masteries if you need more, all res and defense and whatnot. Mastery skillers are always okay, but they're never like quite great in my opinion for this build. But when you're starting, use whatever you get, and if you need, of course, all res GCs, that's also okay. For small charms, you'll either be using things like max damage lifers with attack rating, or faster run walk with attack rating and damage. You can also use FHR, where is it? Yeah, FHR with max damage and attack rating. Small charms with resistances if you need them to fix your resistances. That's like the general stuff. I like the faster run walk just because it lets me walk around fast. So, simple man, simple desires. For Annies and torches, torch, obviously use one as much as, stats as you can. And Annie as well, same stuff. 2-skill Annie is great for this build, of course. Again, getting 1 more skill point to your all resistances, to your passives, to your war cries, and to your skills as well. So that's kind of like the charms. Nothing too complicated, very versatile options for your charms, and you'll just fix your based on your needs, basically using the charm inventory. So this is it for like the gear. Now let's hop into a map, just showcase like how this build plays like. We're gonna do a short tier 1 map just because I don't know if we want to spend all day just displaying maps. Of course it can do all tiers of maps already with the BK set, on when I was like pretty budgeted, when I was using BK set and like a COA and this rare armor. right? So pretty cheap stuff overall. I think I was using ghoul hides at the time for like a belt. So even back then when I had like pretty meh gear, you know, day 1, day 2, I could already step into tier 3 maps. It wasn't like I couldn't clear them, but this build generally is, since it's a melee build that kind of walks around, of course it's not very fast, so you have to keep that in mind. Okay, so once you of course combine your map, always slam your maps because they might become unique. And as a Berserk Barb, you want to also always fortify your maps because you don't want to have a lot of mobs. You don't have high AoE, so you'll be kind of walking around and you know, hitting stuff as we go. And now I get reminded as always that I need to talk about mercenaries, and currently I'm using an Act 1 Vigor mercenary, but this build has a lot of mercenary options. So I'll start with Act 1 because that's the one I'm using. I'm using an Act 1 Vigor merc. She has herself a Faith rune ward, which helps me reach my faster breakpoint, you know, my fast like attack and breakpoint faster. You'll see that now I don't have to charge like my my frenzy all the way to have my breakpoint. Let me go here just to do like a couple hits. You'll see that now I'm at my fastest breakpoint. So that's another way that you can get your IAS from something. You don't have to have it on your gear. Having like a fanaticism rune word definitely helps. It also gives you damage. Generally speaking, always recommended to have a Templars on your merc unless it's the Act 5 merc. If it's the Act 5 merc, you don't need the Templars, obviously. She uses an Andariel's. It gives her like attack speed, and it also gives her you know, some life leech and a lot of strength, which she needs to wear this Templars. Drax also gives her more strength, so she can wear this Templars. Marrows, CBF, String of Ears. This one has Pierce on it, helps her get like her close to her maximum Pierce, or no, she actually gets her maximum Pierce. And, oh right, because of the bolts. And bolts with 20 IAS and some damage on them, which is always very nice. The merc generally, Act 1 mercs, they have a tendency to die. With this setup, she doesn't die as much. I would love to give her a V-gaze once she can wear the Templars without like having the Andariels on. But sadly, we're not there yet, so we'll get there eventually. For Act 2, you have two options. You can either use your Defiance merc. Defiance merc is great. He gives you extra PDR, defense, and early on, he was a great option for me. I really enjoyed him in the beginning, so I used... she was like my last merc, but I definitely start with like defensive merc. He really helps you get through the campaign. You can put simple rune words on him, like Purity or Insight, and they're really working okay. If you find a Reaper still early on, that's always so great. If you don't need the extra PDR, you don't need the extra defense, a Blessed Aim merc will help you with your attack rating and gives you Deadly Strike, and he's very strong again. He'll be with you on the front line. So two great merc options. I don't use like the Act 3 mercs at all for this build. I don't think they're very good for it. I don't think the synergy is there. For the Act 4 mercs, using a Dark merc, wow, a lot of light mercs. Using a Dark merc, this was the first merc that I made. I gave him a memory rune word just so he has plus skills, and generally speaking, I just made him tanky and let him cast amp for me. Having amp is always great until you can find like a Reaper stall for your Act 2 mercenary or an amp bow for your Act 1 mercenary. For the Act 5 merc, the Barb merc, using the Might merc is very, very nice. He gives you Might aura till you get Templars. It's very, very strong, and you can give him something like a Gavel of Pain or a Vile Husk, so he can give you amp as well. Generally speaking, out of all the mercs, early on I recommend the Act 4 merc just for the amp. Later in the mid game, using like an Act 2 merc is great, and once you can actually equip her with good gear, the Act 1 merc becomes good because you have good gear, you start killing things faster, and you start caring about you know, simply sorry, I just realized that she doesn't have a Ral rune socketed in this, so this is like my little mental problem, you know? They have to do stuff in the moment. Okay, there you go. You're missing some fire res. So that's the merc that I recommend ending up on, just because the vigor is just really, really useful. And let's do a demonstration map. Of course, over here you can either have your teleport, or you can have your fire enchant and venom and whatever rune words. Now, if you are mapping with this, I like having, personally, I like having the teleport just so that helps you move around. And you'll see that you first charge your frenzy, even if you don't need the attack speed for your breakpoints, just so you can have good movement. And you'll be going around, you'll be killing stuff. Things are a little tankier because you fortify your maps. Fortifying your maps is really worth it, just so you don't have to walk around from group to group as much. If you find a really tanky like room, you can always put down a Grim Ward. And I'll just give you some extra damage to kill stuff faster. I'll pick up stuff, even though we're kind of going at it. And you can like teleport around if you think like somewhere is like a little bit too empty for you. Now you see, since I'm using Doombringer, I get like the weekend curse as well. So for people who are playing hardcore, Doombringer, a really great option. You can see I'm pretty tanky as well because of it. It gives you max life. So a very, very safe build, even though you're losing like some PDR, right? As long as you make sure to have some PDR gear, you should be okay with it anyway. You can either have your taunt or your battle cry on something that you have casted, that you have for a fast cast. If you see like a tanky group or like some elite or a champ pack, just to make it faster so you can like one tap them. And as long as you keep up your frenzy, that's kind of like the pace of the maps. You can see that even like fortified, I kill stuff relatively fast. Of course, since it is a walking build and doesn't have a lot of AoE, and you don't have like a lot of movement outside of like you running, then we're not being any speed mapper contenders. But it does feel good, it does feel safe. I've been doing this for like a week now, and I didn't have any problems like running it. It can run a lot of different maps, of course, because you can break most physical resistances. So you're not too limited by that as well. And since you're pretty tanky, like, you're not too afraid of like gloams or like what's it called, burning souls. Yeah, so when you find the boss, you can see how fast like I'm killing the boss right now. Not really struggling with him at all. I know it's tier 1, but you don't really struggle with any tier of boss. This is a bossing build. So yeah, that was basically what I've been up to. I forgot to keep my frenzy up, the result of talking. But yeah, for people who, something I noticed while I was playing this build is that this is like kind of like a perfect dad build. I've been showing it on stream. It's not like a flex or anything, but you can pretty much play this build with one hand. If your mouse has extra buttons, like my left click is my frenzy, my right click is my berserk. I have like a small button on the mouse that does like a battle cry, and I have another small mouse to do Grim Ward. And basically that's all you need during the map, outside of like bowing yourself, which you can also do with one mouse, but some people bind it to other keys. But yeah, this is like how simple this build is to play and to run around. So either for people who need the other hand for something else, I don't know if they're drinking coffee or eating while they're playing, or maybe they're holding their children on their lap or something. So very comfortable build for that. I mean, maybe for some people who just like, you know, like resting their other hand while playing. I don't know what you're doing with your hands. Okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore. But you know, it's just a very comfortable build to play. It feels very easy after like a long session if you do like 8-10 hours of playing a day like I do. Some builds, like, you know, really make you feel like, oh wow, my hands, they hurt a little bit at the end of the session, I have to stop. I never really had that problem with this build, which is definitely a positive in my book. You know, for that gamers, we have to make sure we take care of our wrists. But as you can see, the mapping experience is very simple. There's nothing too crazy here. You basically hold your right click and sometimes tap your left click for frenzy. And things will die. That's all. Generally speaking, in terms of average times for maps, tier 1 maps take me about 4 to 5 minutes normally. Tier 2 maps, like they go from like 5 to 8, and tier 3 maps we done between 8 to 10. What is this one? Why did it light up? The crab bone armor. Okay, nothing interesting about this one. I don't know why it highlighted it. So yeah, generally speaking, 8 to 10 maps normally for tier 3 maps. If you're like looting more heavily, or if you got like bad mods like max life or reduced physical damage, which generally you want to avoid, then it might go all the way up to 12 minutes. But overall, that was the times that I got on average during this like week of grinding. So that was like a map example, just to kind of see how maps look like. Nothing too fancy, but also pretty solid results. And yeah, that's kind of like the mapping experience. Now let's show Uber Ancients, which is kind of like the level 1 bossing entry thing. And you don't really need to change your gear for Uber Ancients. You can keep like whatever you got on. Let's just hop in. And generally, if you are going to Uber Ancients, you can take like again, I really recommend having a Venom Rune Word with you in general, but things like Venom and where's my Demon Limb? I don't know if they're still bound, honestly, but I think they should be. You don't need it, but if it's early on in the game, like having this extra fire enchant, having this like little corpse summon so you can Grim Ward, that's how you use the Venom Rune Word. Again, lets you cast Desecrate, you cast it, and then you put down a Grim Ward in places that otherwise you cannot put down a Grim Ward in. So yeah, doing that, then you mark all of them. Battlecry does work on them, so after you do this, you do want to use Battlecry. You'll see this little red thing on top of them that kind of indicates that you got Grimward on, not Grimward, you got Battlecry on. I forgot to bone myself, I'm sorry. As you can see, having this like a mercenary giving you like the fanaticism helps you, of course, reach your breakpoint without charging your frenzy. So that's definitely a help there. And we got like all sorts of nice stuff, so let's make sure we pick them up. But as you can see, very, very strong. We've done Uber Ancient with like the cheap gear as well. It's not because my gear is strong, so make sure to not get it twisted. We done Uber Ancients from like day 2, basically with like our with the BK set and like the rare sword that I showed you, like these kind of things. Basically, Leorix, like all of them can run Uber Ancients very easily. So don't worry about it too much. It's not because my gear is good. We got a Crescent Moon, and the floor can enjoy that amulet for now. Let me get rid of all of these. So Uber Ancient's pretty simple, not too challenging for this build. It's very, very strong. Again, it's a bossing build. Let's show a little Uber example. And I think for Ubers, I'd like to overcap my resistances a little bit. I think I have like a all res charm here, so just like a little bit of overcapping our resistances definitely does not hurt. So let's go to the next game so we can open up Ubers. I did the mini Ubers. The mini Ubers are not too difficult for this build. You are very tanky. You'll use your battle cry. It does work on them, so you use your battle cry, set up a Grim Ward, and you start smacking them. I just don't want to waste your time during this video. So let's make sure we go over here. And yeah, I think we're good. So we bow. We can use enchant. And remember, the corpses in here also do not have... you cannot use your... what's it called? You cannot use your Grim Ward on them, so you have to bring your Venom if you actually want to cast it. Like you'll see that like right now I can't use Grim Ward, but if I do this, put down a little corpse, I can put Grim Ward down. Having an amp here obviously really helps, but as you can see, you don't really need it. Yeah, make sure to use your battle cry. Definitely does not hurt. As you can see, very simple. We can now bring Mephisto over here to the same Grimward. Oh, let me actually, I'd prefer fighting them separately. So again, I put down another Grimward. As you can see, I didn't even use like a rejuve for the first one. For Mephisto, normally you'd use like one rejuve because you can't leech off him. Just the curse of being melee against Mephisto. Again, I didn't even have like as much overcap as I needed. Build is very tanky, build is very safe. Diablo is usually the annoying one. But we'll try to kill him. I didn't really put like one of those, I guess I forgot. Yeah, and our girl died, which is a shame. When it comes to this fire wave, I like dodging it. It's like the only attack that I really bother dodging, because it really is dangerous. You can see the lightning is not really an issue. As you can see, pretty easy to do Ubers on this build. Again, my build is not top end. This is not Bis gear. These weapons could be way better. They could be ethereal. The boots are just like, they're not the right boots. The belt could be better. The amulet could be better. A ton of things could be better about this build. But we're working with GSF gear since I've been running this build in a GSF. So as you can see, very strong build. Can do all sorts of content, can do everything basically, from leveling with it to doing Ubers, Uber Ancients, Dclone on a budget, with like day 1, day 2 gear, and doing like all sorts of tier 2 bosses, which we're going to talk about now. Let's just make sure we check what torch it is. Another Necro torch, and I think we have better ones in the GSF, so I can frag this. And yeah, let's get into bossing. And now let's talk about the first one out of the 3. We'll talk about Dclone. And I've demonstrated in kind of like our GSF videos the Dclone kills, but I will show it here again. But first, let's talk about Dclone gear. And the Dclone gear, generally speaking, will consist of having halberds. Halberds gives you PDR, 15 PDR. You want to have a total of 60 PDR for Dclone. If we're talking about tier 2, if we're talking about tier 0, having like 20 or 30 is okay, it's fine. You don't need a lot more than that. Again, remember, different tiers will have different goals because different tiers have different difficulties. But if we're talking about tier 2, and this, I've done some Dclones already. You see 17 tier 2 clones, and actually had 0 deaths in Dclone on this build. So it's been really consistent for me. I really like it. I think it's very strong. So generally your goals are to have 90 max fire. You want to have a total of 90 over here, total of 90 at least over here. You want to have generally 70 to 75 in your resistances. You want to have them high up. PDR for tier 2, you'd like to have 60. The reason is, remember, you're reducing your PDR by 10, and the maximum PDR, the cap is 50%. So you want to have 60, so you never go below the cap if you can. 48 or 86 FHR breakpoint, and you want to be at either 10 or 9 FPA per attack, preferably 9. It's not that hard to get, and it's really worth it for the damage once your Berserk is fully charged. So these are kind of like your gear goals, the things you're looking to have. And now let's talk about the actual items. So halberds, 15 PDR, it's great, gives you a lot of other stuff. Hard to replace, but you can also use a COA, a Crown of Aegis. This is the thing I was decloning on in the beginning. Again, can go up to 15 PDR, gives you a ton of res, FHR, a lot of defense. So very solid. In my opinion, halberds is strictly better, but using a COA is not terrible. Shaft stop is a great armor. Using it for Dclone is great, gives you a lot of life, a lot of PDR. If you find or craft a rare armor or like a crafted armor with high PDR, you can use that as well. This is a good example of one high PDR, high enhanced damage. So it's basically whatever you find first. Shaft stop is definitely enough. You can find very cheap ones that will do great for you for tier 2 killing. You'll see that I have some Vexes in here. That's in order to kill Dclone. For the belt during Dclone, Dungos, you can't go wrong with Dungos. Gives you a lot of PDR, a lot of health. Barbarians get the most mileage out of Vitality, and you get so much health from this. Just like, look, I'm at 3,400 right now. 150 health more. You really can't like underestimate like how much health Verdungo gives a Barbarian. If you don't have a Verdungos yet, a rare belt with PDR is also okay. But yeah, I really recommend Dungos. The rings, generally 2 dwarfs is the best. If you can't run 2 dwarfs, running 1 dwarf and 1 BK ring, you know, the BK set ring that gives you some PDR, that's good if you're missing PDR, or using a dwarf and Ravenfrost. I don't know if I have one here, maybe here. Yeah, a Ravenfrost for CVF and attack rating is also okay. For the boots, generally either water walks or gores for the maximum fire res or for the damage is what you'll be going for during bossing. And amulet, I like running High Lords for Dclone. You can run other rare amulets or Saracens if you'd like, but High Lords give you attack speed, it gives you a lot of deadly strike, gives you 1 to all skills. There's really nothing to not like about it. It's really, really strong and I really recommend it. Yeah, for the gloves, this is where some people disagree. Some people use drainers, some people use ghoul hides, some people use lava gouts. Lava gouts and ghoul hides will give you, you know, attack speed that will give you fire enchant. I personally run demon limb, so I get the fire enchant from a different, you know, a different source. This will also give you max fire res and half freeze duration with some fire resistances. So lava gouts is very strong. It's not bad, it's just I decided I don't need it. Ghoul hides gives you a lot of damage to undead, a lot of attack rating to undead, and attack speed, flat life. So again, great pair of gloves. If you are struggling with the skeleton waves and you think like you need a little bit more push there, Ghoul hides is a great option. Of course, if you need the IAS to reach the breakpoint, make sure to use Ghoul hides as well. I use drainers because I don't need the attack speed. I like the dual leech. I like the minus to physical resistance. It helps me kill Diablo cleanly and consistently, and I wasn't really struggling with the skeletons personally, so I figured I'd go with the drainers. So that's what I ended up with. All of them are okay for Dclone. On the swap, as I said, you have to have this Venom for bossing. It is so strong, and it is so important to kind of have this in your arsenal, because again, the Grimward is an insane buff and not having it is such a waste. For the other one, I use a Demon Limb for the fire enchant. If you're using Lava Gouts and you don't need a Demon Limb, just having like something here that gives you plus to War Cries, like a War Cry stick, or having like a Sword Guard, for example, just for the resistances, to make sure you're not dropping from your max resistances, is like a good choice. So that's kind of like for the gear for Dclone. I'll pull up the Dclone example just so we can talk through the fight, so you can kind of see how that looks like. And I'll show like the tier 0 clone first, like the budget one, and then we'll show like the non-budget one. So you should be able to see it now, and you'll see that I'm running it with the BK set that was like done on day 2. The rare armor that I showed you, the COA, String of Years, Ghoul Hides, that's what I was using. I'm kind of showing like the skills, Demon Limb and Venom on the swap. And okay, let's hop into the fight, just so you can see like how this looks like and how this plays out. So as you can see, I hop in, I bow, I use fire enchant, and I put down a Grimward in the middle. It's best to put it in the middle just so it reaches you wherever Dclone goes. I charge my my little frenzy, make sure it's up, and then I gather the skeletons. I use taunt on them in order to reduce their damage and to reduce their defense. And yeah, and then and then I make a little mistake. I make sure to put in rejuves, and for every phase I'll put on a new Grimward, since it lasts for about as long as it takes you to finish the phase. Okay, this is of course the first fight. It looks pretty chill and calm. But of course the fight in tier 2 is a little bit more difficult, and let's hop into the tier 2 fight. This will be the first time that I kill tier 2. So here I already have my Doombringer, my Grandfathers, my Halabards, and of course make sure to pre-charge your frenzy, right? Charge it outside of the fight so you don't have to do it in the fight, right? It's very similar to how Malbear can use Hunger outside of the fight, so he comes in with the buff. So very, very nice. And as you can see, now it's a little bit more hectic. There's a lot more damage going around. I had about 4,000 health for this fight. I don't think you need that much. You can definitely do it with like 3,800 or even less. But that's kind of like the health area that I would recommend you'd be at. As you can see, again, use Taunt to take care of these skeletons, these physical skeletons. Let's put it a little bit faster. And you make sure to recharge your Jews. New phase starts, you put down another Grimward. That's how it looks like. Again, take care of the skeletons. As you can see, I wasn't having any problem with the skeletons, so I don't really feel like I need the ghoul hides. I felt like I should be focusing on dealing damage to Dclone, because these were like the parts that were a lot harder for me. So I was like, okay, let me focus with the drainers on like doing as much damage to Dclone as we can. And one more phase of, you know, mage skeletons. No problem at all. This is of course the first attempt. I haven't tried like tier 2 on Barb before ever, actually. That's a class I never attempted bossing beyond tier 1 with till this point, so I was pretty happy with this. This felt pretty easy to do, and after doing more attempts I became more and more consistent, and I ended up usually saving more rejuves than just free. But as you can see, even with these like very non-optimized weapons in the group self-found kind of scenario, I still didn't have any trouble, and it still was pretty simple. So yeah, that's what we ended up doing. It wasn't too difficult. I really think it's a pretty intuitive bosser to run. And yeah, I think he's also really, really fun. People who enjoy Malbear and Charged In, I think this will be like up your alley if you want to try Barb in the future. So I really recommend it. Alright, let's move on to the second boss, and the second boss will be Lucion. And Lucion is very similar gear to Dclone. So instead of the Verdungos, you'll be running a T-Gods. T-Gods for the max lightning, of course. The helm stays the same, the weapons stay the same. I use the same weapons for all bosses. So the halberd stays. You want the PDR for Lucion. I used literally this halberds for both fights. So even though it has like a Vex rune that you don't need for Lucion, this is what I use. Use a T-Gods instead of the Dungos. The max lightning is so valuable, so don't let it go. I use this rare PDR armor with a low rune inside it, just so I can have like the extra lightning resistance. So again, matching these together, we were missing 3 more lightning res, and I used a waterwalks with max lightning in the beginning. Then I changed to PDR waterwalks. Generally speaking, I've done this fight on 87 max lightning as well, so you don't even need 90 max, but the gear goal is to have 90 max lightning, have some lightning absorb if you can, and have as much PDR as you can. I think the actual fight I ran with 45 PDR for tier 2 the first time, so we'll see it in the video. I've only done tier 2s. I've done, again, a bunch of tier 2 Lucions. We didn't have any issues. We didn't die. We didn't get close to dying either. The fight was pretty easy for this build. It's not really struggling with clearing the portals. But yeah, we used T-Gods, the PDR armor, Halberd's Rain. I kept the Drainers on, High Lords also. So everything kind of stays the same, but you change the rings from having 2 dwarfs. I used the BK and the Wisp. Right, the Wisp projector and the BK ring, which are good options. Having like Wisp for the absorb, having a BK ring for the PDR. For the boots, I used waterwalks just because that's what I had at the time. But having Gore Riders, especially these kind of Gore Riders with max lightning, is great. It's exactly what you'd want, I think. But waterwalks definitely did the job. Flat life, dexterity, and the max PDR that I had on them, or I had some with max lightning as well. Charms also always kind of stay the same. I swap out the faster one walk charms for bossing to put on some res charms or some flat life charms instead, but this is the only thing that I really change. All of these always stay on me. I never really change them. They always kind of stick in there. So that's the gear change that I'm doing for Lucion. Let me show you our first Lucion, just so you can kind of see the fight. And again, as always, charge your frenzy outside. Make sure to just have it on. Make it a little bigger. And you walk in, you bow yourself, fire enchant, desecrate, put down a grimoire, summon your spirit. Again, this is kind of like a ritual every time. And for the Lucion fight, this was the first one, so it was a little bit sloppy. You can use your battle cry on the portals. Actually, it works on them, which is pretty cool. So I don't know what's the resistance on the portals. I don't know what it is, but it felt like it's scaling them faster, so I recommend using it. Every now and then you'll have to recast your grimoire. Just kind of like in the middle there, it reaches the entire screen pretty much, so just put one down in the middle every like portal phase or so, every like minute or something like that, and you should be fine. As you can see, the fight is pretty simple. You never really feel too much of danger. 3,800 health, more than enough. Could definitely do with a lot less, like 3,500 or so, and you should be fine. As you can see, the fight not too troublesome. You dodge the lightnings, you focus the portals immediately. Don't let the portals just stay there. You don't want to get swarmed or anything. I don't think you'd be doing well with that, considering you don't have high AoE. So just focus on, you know, filling your belt when you can, clearing the portals when they appear. The rest of the time, we just kill Lucion as much as we can. And that's the fight. Really simple stuff. Similar gear to Dclone. You don't need to do a lot of swaps. Just basically the belt, the rings. The rest can kind of stay the same for the most part. Of course, the attributes and skills, they don't change between fight to fight. So that's the Lucion fight, and it is pretty simple. I recommend you start with the Lucion fight since it is the easiest one, and maybe end on the Rathma fight since it's considered the most difficult one, and it has the most specialized gear. So now let's talk about the Rathma fight and what do you want to use there. Generally speaking, in my opinion, Rathma is a little bit more complicated because the fight doesn't really require PDR, but you as a character kind of need to have like some PDR so you don't die to random stuff that do physical damage. So it is a little bit challenging, but otherwise it is fine. The gear that I went with is like so, and I'll just put it on just so it's easier to see. I believe this was on, and this. Alright, so that's the gear I used for Rathma, and you can see weapons, they stay the same, the weapons don't change, but in the Rathma fight, oh, I'm missing the belt, sorry, I didn't put it on. Yeah, in the Rathma fight, your gear goals are 90 max poison, 85 or higher fire and cold resistances. You'd like to have 175 PLR or as close to that as possible, 86 FHR, and you'd like to have a little bit of PDR, not too much, just like a little bit. You'll see I have 8 here. Having around the 10 area is probably okay. And you want to have a little bit more attack speed than you normally do. The reason is because in the fight there is a curse called Decrepify, which will slow you down and slow your attack speed. So having a little bit of overcap will help you not lose as many breakpoints as you otherwise would, which really helps you clear the fight. Now let's talk about the gear. For the helmet, the go-to helmet is Andariel's, gives you 30 IAS, which is great, gives you skill points, and gives you all skills, which is very important. I'll explain why in a moment. The 8 max poison, 80, like up to 30 strength, just a really good helm, gives you a ton of poison res. It does lower your fire res, which you will have to make up for with charms usually, or with your gear. So great type of helmet. I don't think there's anything better than this for Rathma, and I wouldn't recommend trying other stuff. For the armor, we use G-Bane. Again, super hard to replace. This one has 3 sockets. Jaw runes, basically you want to have jaw runes so you reach around the 4k health area. You'll see that if I like bow right now, I'm only at 3,800, but I have the wrong charms, so I would have like pretty close to 4k if I changed my charms as well. But you want to have like jaws only if it brings you to around like the 4k area. Otherwise, damage jewels, resistance jewels are usually the go-to. And as you can see here, I have ohms and vex. In order to get my max resistances up, I need it. Other setups may not need it. It just depends on how you're kind of like using your gear. But G-Bane is great. The reason G-Bane is so great is because it gives you critical strike, cannot be frozen, PLR, and FHR. So again, an amazing armor. Critical Strike is enjoying, of course, the all skills. So as you can see, Critical Strike goes down when I remove my Andariels. That's why the all skills is better than Barbarian skills. In this case, whenever you're using G-Bane, all skills are very important. So that's kind of like a very nice little combo, G-Bane and Andariels. For the gloves, I've been using Ghoul Hides. The reason is that unlike in the Dclone and Lucion fight, where the Drainers seemed superior because they helped me take down Lucion and Dclone, in this fight, taking down the Void Knights as fast as possible seemed like the best strategy. So having Ghoul Hides give you attack speed, they give you damage to Undead, and attack rating against Undead has been super beneficial, and I've been really enjoying it in this fight. I tried both for tier 2s. We managed to do tier 2 with Drainers and with Ghoul Hides, but Ghoul Hides seemed a lot cleaner, so I recommend Ghoul Hides for this fight. For the belt, we're using a 2 max PLR belt, so this belt gives us 25 PLR, helping us get to our goal over here, and gives us 2 max resistances. Pretty much always in Rathma, I recommend having this slam on your belt. Whatever belt you're using, please have this slam. It's so valuable to have this on your belt in Rathma, since you're using the max poison, the max cold, and the max fire. This one has a little bit of strength, some resistances, and some PDR. Having flat life and FHR on these belts can also be very good. I personally don't need the FHR, so yeah, I guess just having flat life would have been really nice, but this is the belt that we used for our tier 2 attempts. The boots we're using are Water Walks with max poison. You could also potentially use Gores with max poison, but this helps me get, again, my maximum fire res to where I want it to be, and it also gives me dexterity to wear my gear, so I kind of need it. Flat life is great. You can also use rare boots with res if you're missing res, with PLR, and also with max resistance slams. But Water Walks is just a great pair of boots for bossing. Inferno Strides can also be a great substitute if you're missing fire res. For the rings, I'm using 2 rare rings. This one is just, it doesn't have PLR, it's just a res ring with dual leech. The leech helps you just in terms of like the moving through the phases, the in-between phases. So you don't have to use rejuves there. It's not super important, but it has an insane amount of res, which I really needed. It has max damage, attack rating, reduced curse duration, so just really nice stats overall. Having a nature's piece is okay. Having like a BK ring is okay, which gives you plus skeleton and a lot of health. But normally you'll be missing res on this build if you're maxing your damage, and this is a great way to just catch up on resistances, so that's why I'm using this ring. The other ring is a PLR ring, also has a lot of cold resistances, so 1 for cold, 1 for fire, some damage, some AR, but for the most part we needed that extra 25 PLRs. That's what we're using it for. For the amulet, you want to have a 75 PLR amulet with 2 max all slam. As you can see, this is a hit power amulet, so it gives us hit recovery and attack rating. We love having this attack rating. This one has some fire resistance and some curse resistance as well. Having one with barb skills would have been really cool, but this is a GSF, this is not optimal gear, and this was way more than enough for tier 2 Rathma to feel very comfortable. So now let's pull the video just to kind of show like the how the Rathma kind of looks like, and I'll show both like the tier 0 kill. This was the tier 0 kill. As you can see, fire enchant, put down a Grimoire in the middle. Once the Void Knights come out, then you can of course use their corpses or the Conjured Soul. You can see you can use it. As you can see here, this is tier 0, so I'm doing it. This is the first time I've done Zerk in Rathma. I actually haven't done it before, but it felt very comfortable. It felt very easy. It wasn't too stressful. Just make sure that you're killing stuff, you're keeping up your frenzy, and yeah, don't get too stressed. Here I'm doing it with no maximum poison res. I had none for this fight. As you can see, I'm running the COA for resistances, and I've done it with 75 max poison. This is pretty much like the gear I was using for mapping on like day 2 or something, day 2 or day 3, I don't remember which one it was. But yeah, if you're just doing tier 0, this build is super strong. I'm not saying you're gonna get on the first try. Of course, I'm very experienced in this fight, so don't be worried if you need more preparations for it. But just to kind of showcase the potential of this build, very, very strong. Of course, I'm taking a lot of damage in tier 0 because I have no max poison. But as you can see, still very, very strong. Takes care of the undeads. the Void Knights very easily and deals a lot of damage in the process. I'll speed this up as I look for the tier 2 video. Okay, yeah, as you can see, taking care of the Void Knights very easily. Now let's go to the tier 2 kill. I guess we can let it play out. Yeah, we do our first tier 0 kill very easily, not too much of a struggle. For our tier 2 Rathma attempt. Yeah, here I'm showing all sorts of stuff there. That's very, very nice. A very important tip is when you're going into any of the phases, make sure to have your frenzy already up. It will follow you to the next fight, so you don't have to charge it. Phase 1, very simple. Fire enchant, put down a Grimward, smack him in the middle. Don't be afraid. Make sure to dodge these spires, they do a lot of damage. Yeah, I had 3900 HP, so again, not too high. You can easily get like 4500 if you're playing on trade ladder and you're min-maxing your stuff at like level 94, 95, not like super high level. But as you can see, very, very simple. Every like wave or two, you'll want to refresh your Grimward. That's kind of like how the fight goes. You'll be dodging around, making sure you're not dying, and then going ahead and smacking these golems. I like to start from the upper right one, just because he is spawned the closest. It gives me time to kind of go in a clockwise manner to kill everything before it reaches Mendeln. Everybody has their own habits, so yeah, not telling you what to do, just what I do. As you can see, pretty simple fight, not too complicated, not too hard. This was our first attempt at tier 2. So again, no practice before this, and it felt pretty easy. Again, a lot of experience in this. Didn't use a lot of potions too, which is always a good sign. It means that your build is doing a lot of damage. Not lastly, sorry. Second phase, you go in, make sure to fire enchant, put down a totem. You'll be able to use the Void Knights for totems from now on for the Grimwards, so don't worry about it. As you can see, I try to make sure that I kill all the Conjured Souls. I don't leave them up. I don't like having extra damage going on. And because the animation for Berserk is a little bit long, make sure to give yourself enough time to dodge. Whenever you see a clump of Void Knights, make sure to target them. You do really nice AoE damage when they're close together like this. So it's worth making sure that you take care of them when they're together. And that's kind of like how the fight goes. I don't know if this is... No, we have one more phase. Yeah, so you keep smacking him down. Always keep your frenzy up. Always keep your Grimwards up, and you should be fine. And let's go over here. Okay, yeah, we go into the fight. Have your frenzy up as always. I like dropping the cube. You of course don't have to do that, as some people prefer not to. So we go ahead, we try to smack them together. Take care of Conjured Souls when you can. You don't want to be double phasing this if you can help yourself. It's safer to not do so. I didn't know how to estimate my damage. It was the first time that we did this, of course. So we ended up doing more damage than we thought we would. Just playing with, you know, very unoptimized weapons. So I didn't really expect this, but this build does have very high damage capacity. So again, you do your you let him do his Poison Nova. You make sure you have potions, and then target the knights if they're in clumps. Killing the purple knight early, since he does physical damage, is very important, since you are lowering your physical resistances. And again, if you see Conjured Soul, make sure to try and kill him. This time I saw he was doing Poison Nova, so I didn't want to stay outside of his circle. Charge your rejuves in between phases. Then whenever you summon, take care of purple knight, take care of clumps. As you can see, the Void Knights die very fast. This is courtesy of the Ghoul Hides. And kill Mendeln. I kill Mendeln first, and then kill Rathma. Very, very easy stuff. We finished with a full belt on, no practice. So again, very unoptimized gear. As I said before, this is the gear I just showed you. Very unoptimized gear still lets you run very effective bossing, which is really, really great. And that's the free big bosses of PD2. You know, that's the guide. That's what you need to know. I know this guide is pretty long, but it gives you kind of like a taste of everything. This is the summation of my first week as a GSFer, and it was really, really fun to play this build. I really recommend people try it in Season 12 or in Season 11 if you'd like to, if you still have the time. As you can see, don't need like the best gear in order to get into Tier 2 bossing. We found as a group of 16 people, we found this gear in less than 4 days. And we managed to take this to Tier 2s, so I'm sure that you can find the gear you need on the trade ladder if you really wanted to. With that said, I hope this video was useful and educational to you guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for it. This is hopefully still relevant in future seasons, and if not, you can always leave questions on the video to ask for more information. With that said, have a good whatever you're having. I'll see you on the next stream or in the next video. And I'm planning to respec into spin just to have a little bit of fun with the spin to win life. So I guess I'll see you then. Till the next time. Bye bye bye.